I took a survey a week or so ago on a study about the experiences of gay men. On the questionnaire, one question, one answer stood out the most for me. The question was, when was your first sexual experience? My answer was 10 or 11 years of age. It's a difficult thing to admit, not just to other people, but to myself as well. This experience comes with it so much emotion, sadness, disgust, animosity, and the desire to just forget that it ever happened. The funny thing is that I really did forget about it for a long time. I somehow put it so far back into my memory bank that I no longer thought about it, that I no longer let it bother me, for it was in that dark crevice in my mind that I myself could not reach. And there it stayed and lurked throughout middle and high school. I just made myself believe that it didn't happen. But life has this extraordinary way of making sure nothing is really buried away. And so, one event at college helped to reincarnate this memory. It gave it new life. It gave it the emotions I wanted so badly to leave behind. Take Back the Night was this moment. It was an event. It wasn't my first time going to one of these, but it was the first time I heard stories from students just like myself. It was the first time I heard another guy describe how he wanted to take back his night. I sat there on that green patch of grass in the dark of night in an amphitheater with tears rolling down my face, emotions boiling inside, and a memory rushing back. How could I let it happen? Why did he do it? Why does it still hurt? Shouldn't I just get over it? Was it as bad as other stories I heard that night? I think I am still answering those questions to this day. But I figured a few things out. I was about 10 when it happened, because I knew it was sometime in my later years of elementary school. A part of my extended family was visiting. We had to find places for them to sleep in the house. So evidently, I ended up having to share a bed with a relative several years older than me. I think he was about 19. I innocently slept beside him, not making much of it, because I have had to share beds before, like with my brother, but I guess this would prove to be a different situation. That night, I was mostly asleep when I found myself gently woken by the grasp of his hands on my tiny fingers. It was in his shorts, stroking his penis, and I had no control over it. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't figure out what to do. I had never been in such a situation. I was too young to really know what he was doing with my hand. I just felt uncomfortable. I pretended that I was asleep as he continued to use my hand. A while later, he moved me down the bed, a little in a gentle manner, hoping not to wake me up. But I was wishing that I wasn't. I was conscious, hoping that this whole episode of my life would stop. I didn't know what to do still. He pried my mouth open with his fingers and proceeded to stick his thing in my mouth. I felt myself gag a little. It took out momentarily, and then again, he tried, putting it back in. I finally decided at that moment to try to do something. I closed my mouth and clenched my teeth. He couldn't open my jaw without knowing that he would wake me. He stopped finally. At that point, when he realized he couldn't get my mouth open for his pleasure. The next morning, he acted to me as though nothing happened that night before. The memory I had of him taking advantage of me never occurred. I think that's when I started to forget. That's when I moved on, without even trying to deal with what happened that night. I know now that it's something I will have to deal with for the rest of my life. I know now it has nothing to do with my experiences as a gay man. I knew early on that I was different from other boys. Even before this incident, I knew I had crushes in elementary school on some of the boys in my class rather than what was the norm with having crushes with the girls. I think as a boy, I was as gay as they came. I've come to know that being molested at a young age is an experience that I am not alone in. I have found other friends who, despite all the normal lives we lead, share similar stories, share the experience of sexual assault. And two, being sexually abused does not define your sexuality. I am not gay because something happened to me, or because there is something wrong with me. Something was done to me. But despite this, and not because of it, I have grown into the man I was meant to grow into. I do deal with the memory of being abused that night. It's something as simple and as devastating as being able to pinpoint exactly when I lost my innocence forever. I sometimes wished I stopped it when it first began, or at least when I first woke up. But I know in my heart, I was too young to really understand it all. I'm just glad that I kept it from going any further. I have found that life presents us with these unexpected challenges, and that somehow we just have to deal with them. I have come to believe that this is a really fucked up world and shit happens, but it's not what happens to us, but how we deal with what happens to us that defines who we are. I won't let this memory ruin my life because I have too much to live for, like seeing that damn Marshall Newman Amendment repealed and attending my first legally recognized gay wedding ceremony in the state of Virginia, or reading about the passing of federal laws on non-discrimination for LGBT individuals, or meeting the first openly gay or admiral, general or admiral in the US military, or even being here, just sitting here, being able to share my story with other people, whether they're like me or not. And P.S. University of Virginia, I want to have my wedding here because this is my school. And my chapel too. Thank you.